As we continue a focus on resource management within a .NET application and C Sharp, we need to focus a little bit on something known as IDisposable. Now, this is not something that you're going to have to focus on as you start working with C Sharp on a regular basis. This is another one of those semi-advanced concepts that you should be aware of and know that it exists. But as you start working with resource management in your C Sharp applications, getting into more complex applications later, iDisposable may form a part of what your applications may implement. Now, this is different from anything that we have seen throughout this entire course so far because iDisposable is known as an interface. It's not a class, but it's actually an interface, and we didn't cover how to deal specifically with interfaces within C Sharp because it gets into the intermediate to advanced concepts of C Sharp programming. And an interface is basically like a class, only it has method signatures only, and the implementation details must be written by the programmer who's implementing this interface. Similar to the way we inherit a class, within our classes we can implement, not inherit, but we are implementing the methods that exist within an interface, and in this case, the iDisposable. What we use it for is to release unmanaged resources. As we think about a C Sharp application and a .NET framework application, they are considered to be managed code. So they're managed by the .NET framework, by the .NET runtime, by the garbage collector for cleaning up our resources as we are finished with them. But there can exist in your application unmanaged resources, and unmanaged resources are typically things such as files that you might have open on the system, streams that you may be working with. If you're unfamiliar with what a stream is, that is an actual in-memory representation of binary information, or it could be text information that you're working with. So we may open a URL from the internet and we want to read the HTML information that gets sent down from a web server, and the stream is used to actually parse and read through that information in the memory of the computer itself. So the stream is typically an in-memory representation of textual or binary data. So the iDisposable interface, how it works is, again, this is just a quick example of code that we'll see here on the screen. We're not going to go into writing code for this because, again, it's a more advanced topic, but it's just here for your awareness. When you create a class and you implement the iDisposable interface, then the .NET framework requires you to write code to implement this method called dispose. Now, you'll notice it is called protected virtual void, and this means it's a virtual method, so you can override the method itself, void meaning it's not returning anything. The protected keyword, don't worry about that for the time being. It's just an access modifier that we apply to methods within the scope to determine where they would be used within or within an application. Notice that it's accepting one argument called disposing, which is of type Boolean. So within the method, we check to see if our class has already been disposed, and if it has, we don't need to do anything, so we simply return from the method. If it hasn't been, then we have to check to see if we're currently in the process of disposing. If we are, we will free up any managed objects within that dispose method, and then we will free up any unmanaged objects and set the dispose method to true. So again, a little bit of an advanced concept when working with classes for releasing the resources. Using the iDisposable interface means you have to implement the dispose method, and it means that you're going to write specific code in here to release managed and unmanaged resources. Primarily, iDisposable is used for releasing unmanaged objects such as files or streams in memory. Again, as you advance your career in C Sharp and start getting into some more advanced programming, you may implement iDisposable in some of your classes. But remember, the .NET framework handles a lot of that resource management for us.